Good call on that one. Definitely got to hit record. Did I even share this thing? Yeah, I did. All right. Let's see if this just. Oh, I did. Let me just share it real quick here too. Do you have Facebook open?
No, I can get it. Let me see.
This way, you could share the link from Bump and Run.
Yeah, I don't know why we haven't been doing that. I see nothing.
Okay, good.
Hold on.
It's there somewhere. I'll get it started.
I got it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano from Atlantic City. Here, as always, with my good friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
How are you, sir? Good afternoon.
You on your mini smart machine there?
Yeah, I think we're working, bro.
Is that what you're doing?
We are going live, my friend.
We have more. Well, it's actually more trades than free agency this week, which is fascinating because usually this time of year is dominated by free agency, but the free agent moves have caused trades to occur, and it really has been something. I do have to say, have you been betting on March Madness at all? Have you been betting on the games?
Yes, not as much as years past, but yes, I have dabbled a bit. Yes.
Yeah. So I made a bet, and this was more of a bet with a friend. And I don't even know if he's really a friend. You know how you feel.
Don't talk about Mike Dean like that. He's listening.
Damn it. You got me. So I made a bet with Mike Dean, and we'll talk about this during our March Madness segment here. I should have won the bet. Mike knows I should have won the bet. When I tell you what game it is, you'll know I should have won the bet. I'll explain what happened. But the reality is I lost the bet. And unfortunately, I have to pay off my loss during this podcast.
Oh, no.
So I know. I'm not thrilled about it. I am not thrilled about it, but it's what I have to do. So we'll get to that during the March Madness stuff because that was the game. One of the games was in March Madness. Okay. Deshaun Watson, do you happen to have the what Cleveland gave up and what the new contract is?
Come on, bro.
I don't know why I even ask. Why do I ask stupid questions? I'm a teacher.
The Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, and they gave up 3 first-round picks, a third, and a fourth. And then on top of that, the Browns had to guarantee $230 million.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, this officially makes him the highest-paid player in the league.
Correct. Less than a week after Aaron Rodgers became the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah. Now, the difference is Aaron Rodgers wasn't swinging his dick around 23 different masseuses. So
that's a great point.
It is a great point, isn't it? Because it does kind of have an effect. And this is the reason I was asking you, like, really more of what they're giving him, what their new contract was. I want you to, because you're in the business world. I'm just a teacher, but you're in the business world. I want you to put your, like, business suit on and your business hat on, and I want you to tell me how you sell this to all the wives and the girlfriends of the men who are fans of the Cleveland Browns.
I wish I had an answer for you. I don't have an answer.
There was an analyst on ESPN the other day. She has her own show. I cannot remember her name, so I apologize. She has her own. Maybe that's who it was, and she's also a lawyer. I don't know. She's also a lawyer.
No, I don't think that's
her. It was a different one then. She was on with Max and them in the morning, and she was the only interesting one of the bunch.
Not Mina Kimes.
Maybe it was her.
Yeah. Yeah. She went to Yale, so she might be a lawyer.
Probably a lawyer. Yeah. So she was saying, listen, she's actually a lawyer. Her law firm works for NFL players. She says, full disclosure, we work for NFL players, defending them against oftentimes illegitimate suits by people who are just trying to get money.
Right.
She said, this is very different. She says, this is not one person gold digging, trying to get money. This is 23 people, 23 women who have come forward. And we've talked about it ad nauseum, so we don't need to go into the details again. But she says, this is very different. She says, I just don't know how you sell this to women in the Cleveland area, women in Ohio, and women who are the wives and girlfriends of fans. And I just thought about even wives and girlfriends of the players.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a thing. And I just don't know how you go about it. And it's interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong. They haven't had a press conference with him, have they?
No, not that I've seen.
Yeah, I wonder why.
You think it would be all over the place if it was?
Of course, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's why I didn't think there was. So how do you sell this?
I don't know, man. The old saying is, "Winning cures all," but this is a different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this age and climate, like there are places that you just can't go anymore that are just not tolerated anymore, right? And sexual assault or sexual harassment, these things are just not tolerated anymore.
Remember this though, sir. The Browns also have Kareem Hunt on their team.
And what did he do?
He did something. Did he beat up a girl? I think he beat up a.
Yeah, and I mean, there's
or-
plenty of that around. Like we talked about the dude for Cincinnati, the running back for Cincinnati,
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. I implore everyone to go watch the video of that guy knocking out his ex-girlfriend. By the way, it's really tough to watch, dude. It's really tough to watch a grown man, a physical, big, thick, muscular football player just cold cock a girl and put her to sleep. Like, it's a hell of a thing to watch. So yeah, you're right that it's happened, but usually those cases, they're not serial cases where, you've done it, you've knocked out 23 women like the heavyweight champ of the world in boxing. So,
yeah.
And I'm not trying to even equate which is worse, which is better, because I don't like those either. Those cases, it's funny. We say like, well, they got to be able to make a living. Well, this isn't the only job in the world. Like, if you were working at Wawa and you did one of those things, you'd get fired from that job. And then you'd have to go find another job. It doesn't mean you can't work. So what is it, NFL, the only job you can hold? Go get another freaking job. Maybe you just don't deserve to be in the NFL if you're doing that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not getting into the whole legal issues of what goes on there. But I'm just saying, to me, while he's a great player, and even that's debatable as far as how great, frankly, in the last 4 years that he's played, his record and his playoff appearances are the same as Mitch Trubisky, with significantly better talent around him than Mitchell. So it's debatable how great he really is. I think he's very, very good. I don't know how great he is. But I just think this is a tough sell. And then to turn around and make him the highest paid player in the league, as if it wasn't enough that you're saying we want you. Not only do we want you, but now we're going to pay you as if you're the best. I don't know, man. It's just a tough sell, and it just feels gross. I think that's what it is more than anything. Could that wear off in time?
Yeah,
I suppose, but it
usually does.
But the Browns would have to be really, really, really successful, and any glitches in that level of success, hellfire is going to rain down on it, and probably deservedly so, man. If you're going to dance with the devil, then you're going to have to pay a price for that.
And there's also a difference of giving him a contract, taking a shot on him, second chance, blah, 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 and then guaranteeing the whole thing.
Guarantee, and it's mega.
Yeah. It's
how many years is that? 230.
It's a bad look. I think 5.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's bananas. It's like, I don't even know why he had to do that. He had like 3 years left on his contract. Was that the only way to get him to come to Cleveland?
Yeah, because remember last week we reported that they were out. The Browns were out.
Yeah, he pretty much said it. Money does change things, doesn't it? We'll give you this. Oh. Because the reporting was that he had played one game in Cleveland, and it was raining, and it was cold, and he didn't play particularly well, and he blamed it all on the weather, and he's like, this place sucks. So that's why he really didn't want to go there anyway. But when you throw $50 million at somebody, or 55 million or whatever it ends up being.
I'll sit out in the rain all night and throw footballs tonight.
Yeah, I'll sign up for that.
And you know what also helps though? I think out of the options that he had, it was the best chance to win. Although in the AFC, the talent around him was the better out of Atlanta, New Orleans.
New Orleans would have been pretty nice. I just see the thing to me was I think you had the better coach for him in Atlanta, but I think you had the better team for him in New Orleans.
He finally has a run game. He never had that in Houston before. He's got one of the best O-lines.
I don't know that's true. He definitely has a very good offensive line.
Well, who's Houston's running back when he was there? I don't remember anybody spectacular.
In his early years, what's his name was there? They had a decent running game.
Who?
Jesus, I can't remember his name.
Wow. David Johnson. Yeah, but he never really had a spectacular year.
No, but also is because you're throwing the ball 45 times a game because you have Deshaun
Well,
Watson. So
Well, exactly.
that
So
has a
now-
little something. Are you going to, I mean, listen, how many games last year did Baker only throw the ball 25 times? You going to do that with Deshaun Watson when you're paying him 50 something million dollars?
No, I think you got to have a balanced attack.
I agree. I'm just saying when you're playing close games or you lose and you know your $50 million quarterback only threw it 25 times, or you're winning and you're throwing it 45, 50 times, you're not running the ball as much. You can't.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll see how that part of it shakes out. But I just was looking at this. I'm like, man, this is just, I don't know. Women are the best grudge holders in the history of grudges.
I'm not touching that one.
This is one of those things. Oh, I don't mean anything specific here. This is one of those things that I just, you know, I just don't, I don't know that it's going to be let go just because it's gross. I think the number of them, you know, it's funny. I don't know that what he did, or at least what he's being accused of having done, is even close to the worst thing that we've heard NFL players do. Like basically like rubbing his joint on his, or soliciting for some work to be done, rubbing his stuff on him. We've seen and heard of NFL players doing much worse. I think it's the quantity. You know what I mean? It's just like, he's a serial penis advertiser or however you want to.
Yeah. You ever seen the movie Hall Pass?
I don't think I have. Maybe I did.
My God.
But it's been a while.
Where Jason Sudeikis is at an establishment. And he's like, I said, Rob, no talk. I said, Rob, no talk. He's like yelling at the girl.
I'm watching a show with Jason Sudeikis now. Ted Lasso.
Oh, it's the best.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
I
it's
laugh,
hysterical.
I cry. It's fantastic.
Mike Dean, exactly. That's not exactly
What this
Kareem
crazy
Hunt
person say?
and Nick Chubb.
What did he say? Lamar Miller was his running back in Houston with Duke Johnson his past catch. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
They did great. Go look at their stats. They did just fine. But this is what happened. Look at the running backs for Kansas City. They don't get great stats either because Mahomes throws it 50 times a game. It's the way it's going to go. You can only run so many goddamn plays.
Yeah, but I'm saying that Cleveland's already established with the run game.
I agree. I totally agree. I just don't know that it's going to be the same
I
because
hear
you're going to throw the
you.
ball more with Deshaun Watson. That's all.
Did
And I
you
wonder
hear-
how much that affects them. We're getting into like what's going to happen next year already, but I wonder how that affects them because cold weather teams, as the weather gets colder, you want to run the ball more. But if you didn't run the ball a lot in the beginning of the year, it's hard to just start running the ball more. But then you're saying we're not going to throw the ball a lot with our $55 million quarterback. So it's like, how do you want to do that? You know,
Stefanski's got some pressure on him here. See how he runs.
Oh, I totally agree. There's a lot of pressure on him because, in all honesty, let's be real. Whether we've talked about him being a really good coach, but the word out, you know, has been like this guy's, a really good coach. Well, now you can't blame it on Baker anymore.
Yeah.
And I put plenty of fault on Baker, so I'm not going to sit here and say that Deshaun Watson isn't as good or isn't better than Baker. I totally think he is, because I never thought that Baker was that good anyway. But now the pressure's really on. And now they're also in a situation that we talked about was coming with Baker, what's coming with Lamar, was coming with Patrick Mahomes. Now you're paying a quarterback full price, full retail price, and you can't pay everybody else the way you would like to. So sooner or later, they're going to have to let go of certain players here, and which they did. They basically have no wide receivers left.
Yep.
They got one, right? Like Higgins or something like that.
Cooper. They traded for Amari Cooper.
And they got Amari Cooper. We'll see how that works out.
They got some young guys. They got Peoples Jones. Yeah,
you got to have the young guys. Yeah, you got to have the young guys that you're not paying a lot of money to. So you got to draft well. And they do have a good front office. They have good GMs. So
before we move on to Baker, did you hear what Watson tried to do?
I don't know if I did.
With Atlanta?
No.
He tried to recruit Jarvis Landry and Leonard Fournette there with him.
But then didn't go anyway.
And that didn't go. That didn't happen.
Obviously not, yeah.
Well, that's why I think he went back to Cleveland. I think that was his – because Falcons were his childhood team. And
why Jarvis Landry, though? Just because?
I think a guy out there that's a veteran guy. They have your boy, Pitts.
Yeah.
They would have a run game now with him.
No Ridley.
Yeah, he's gone. He's at the casino.
Yeah.
So
is
you
he
get
allowed
him
to bet now since he's suspended. And he's not in the league. Is he allowed to bet now? He's technically not.
He's got a 4-leg parlay tonight, March Madness.
He's going to say, "Fuck this! I'm going to go on CBS. I'm going to be the Jimmy the Greek of the CBS now."
Oh man.
So yeah, you mentioned Baker Mayfield, and my simple question to you about him is, what now?
That's what I got right now. What's next?
What now? Because I had people texting me saying, like, where's Baker end up? I'm like, dude, I think Baker ends up in Cleveland because nobody wants him. And all the doors got closed. Atlanta got closed with Mariota.
Which is bizarre.
Well, I tell you what, I say this all the time. There's talent, and then there's baggage. These are the two things that every general manager weighs. And I think of guys like T.O. or Chad Johnson, who had lots of baggage, but their talent or Aaron Rodgers, their talent outweighs the baggage, right? But the second that your talent does not, that your baggage outweighs your talent, dude, they will cut you, and no one will ever see you again. No one will ever see you again. And this is what's going on. Baker's baggage, his talent was never like any of those three guys that I just mentioned, because those three guys at one point or another were top 3 in the league at their position. Chad Johnson was, T.O. definitely was, obviously Aaron Rodgers still is. Baker was never that. And now you're an asshole. You're demanding trades. You know what he did, dude? He played his hand too hard, and now he's stuck. And now you're going to sit there. You're the number 1 pick in the draft. You're still on the team that drafted you, and you're the goddamn backup quarterback.
So Seattle's still an option, kind of. Pittsburgh, I heard, would be interested if they released him, which makes no sense to me.
I heard that they were interested. That shocked me.
Me too.
That literally shocked me.
And I don't think you can keep him on Cleveland's roster. But I think that's a bad look.
Then your only other option, to me, I don't think Seattle wants him because he's a turnover.
Well, I don't think Seattle wants to give up anything, especially draft picks. So I think if they released him, I think they would take, whatever.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that was what I was trying to get at. Like, I don't think you're going to get a trade for him.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Unless it's like, I can't even remember to say this, but unless it's like a 5th round draft pick or something like that, like something.
Because you just said it with not necessarily baggage, but showed his hand too soon. He's a bit of a baby.
He played his hand too hard.
Yeah, and he played it too in the open. Like he jumped the gun on that. He wrote the letter to Cleveland too soon.
Yes.
There was a lot. And what team really wants
to get him? And then I want to go to the Colts, and they're like, no. You got to know your hand, dude. You're not in a position to make demands because you're still in a rookie contract.
A very embarrassing offseason for him.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Oh, man. I had another
That's a great way of looking at it. It really is embarrassing because, like, you played it like you're a badass. You played it like Aaron Rodgers. You played it like, whoever has
Russell Wilson,
whoever has forced their way out of it. But you played it like that. But yeah, you don't have the cards to play the hand because you're still in your rookie contract. So if you were like, I'm sitting out, well, you're still coming back. That year doesn't count then, dude. It doesn't work like that. You fucking dummy. They don't pay you, and you still come back on your 4th year. So he just overplayed his hand, and now you said it perfectly, dude. It's embarrassing because nobody wants him. Atlanta would rather have Mariota. New Orleans would rather have crab legs Jameis Winston. You look around like Pittsburgh would rather
Carolina would rather have Sam Darnold.
Carolina would rather have Sam Darnold.
Goodness gracious.
It's really something else. It's a fascinating fall from grace. It really is. Like, this guy was the toast of the town, number 1 pick in a draft, commercials
beat
everywhere.
Pittsburgh in a playoff game at Pittsburgh.
And now,
damn.
I don't know what he's going to do. My guess is if they want him out, the only way he's going to be gone is if they cut him, which is crazy. It's crazy. Plus, I think those rookie contracts for first rounders are guaranteed, so he'd get paid anyway. So that's why I don't know if they would cut him because, hey, he's a viable backup. And here's go ahead. No, I think you're going to go there.
You go.
You don't know what Deshaun Watson, if there's going to be a suspension.
Good point.
So, what I heard where the rumors were from my sources was that at least 8 games. They're trying to look at
the 5 or 6.
Well, because of the nature of what he did and the number of cases, it might end up landing on 8 games. Well, that's half the goddamn season. You're going to need a starter to play for those 8 games. Now, if Baker were smart, if Baker wanted to be smart like Jimmy G, train your balls off this offseason.
Yeah.
Get together with your wide receivers, eat a little crow, a little humble pie, shut your fucking mouth, and go out there and play your balls off, dude. And just kick ass. Go 7-1 in those 8 games. And say, go ahead, take me out. Take me out for a guy who hasn't played in a season and a half.
My 2 things are, 1, he could do the Mitchell Trubisky look, go back up somewhere great. And you know what's not a bad option? Tampa Bay.
Oh, they would never take him. But
you want to learn
agree.
from the best.
Learn from the
and
best.
You want to shut your mouth and take less money and play ball and train and work.
I don't think Baker's stupid.
I don't think he's either. But there's something that's not.
He's got a massive chip on his shoulder. But so what he does, this is the difference between him and Tom Brady. What he does is he does it with his mouth and his play. If you look back at college, he did it with his play also. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But he does it with his mouth too much. Tom Brady doesn't do it with his mouth. He just goes out there and fucking kicks your ass. Like he just kicks your teeth in. And then you're just like, who is this guy?
And from what we hear, he's not a bad teammate because no one really has anything bad to say about the guy as a teammate. Just
other than some of the wide receivers.
Well, Beckham's dad came out and said something. Well, he did that against Eli too. So I don't really hold that for much. But
Jarvis Landry had a couple things to say too.
Oh, I don't remember here now. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I think he was. I don't remember what the hell it was because I don't give a shit about Baker.
Was it like a Jefferson Thielen thing with Cousins? It wasn't that bad.
No, I don't think it was quite that bad.
Stephon Diggs.
I don't think it was quite that bad. Yeah, but it's fascinating to me. That draft. You look at that draft now. Who people were very high on that draft. That's the Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen
Allen,
draft.
Josh Allen.
So Josh Allen was also there, and Lamar Jackson,
yeah.
right? 2 out of 5 are the only ones, at least
and
at this point.
weren't Allen and Jackson the picks 4 and 5 out of the 5?
Allen was before Rosen.
Oh, by a pick or 2?
Yeah, he was like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
and then Rosen was like 12.
Oh yeah, 12 or 13.
11, something in that range.
And then what was Jackson, the last pick of the first
20s, right? Or maybe it was the last pick of the first
round. Did they trade up or something like that? Yeah.
They traded into the first round. That was like the last move that Ozzie Newsome made as GM.
Shocker.
Yeah. So, out of that draft, which was like one of the most highly touted drafts, there's only 2 guys that are really
worth a shit.
Worth their contract. Fascinating. It's just fascinating.
That's
and then you got every pundit this year saying, well, this is not a good draft. And you'll get 4 starters out of this one, right?
Not right away.
No. Well, that's what's interesting. Like, because we're talking about Baker. You could throw Jimmy G into this conversation now because we were asking about Jimmy G last week. Like, where's he go now? And it's like,
the longer it goes, I told you. It looks.
Where are you going to go? Are you going to stay there, right? Because you look around the league. Just what teams don't have? I think Carolina right now and Seattle.
How about this?
Are the only 2 teams that don't have what you would call their guy.
Would you rather have Tua or Jimmy G?
I would rather have Jimmy G.
I agree. You think there's something else in the works?
No.
Old offensive coordinator.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Well, you've been saying that a lot lately. You feeling all right?
I know it's bothering me. But I'm not going to lie about it. I want to lie about it. Yeah. What the hell? Getting all smart and stuff. I'm rubbing off on you. That's why I'm not rubbing you off. I'm rubbing off on you.
Easy, Deshaun.
Yeah, that might not. What do? You throw 2 as your backup, or you let them compete it out, or something like that?
I let them battle it out. Sure, I think they both earn the right.
Well, the problem is now, does Miami have anything left to give up?
That's a.
We could talk about. We can go right into that if you want, because Miami just gave up.
Let's do that.
Half of their.
So I have it written down. So you want to hear?
Please. So Tyreek Hill goes to Miami from. Dude, I'm starting to think Kansas City is very smart. I'm gonna tell you why in a minute, but
I think I know where you're going. But
go ahead. So Tyreek Hill goes to Miami for everything under the sun.
A second and a 4th this year, and a 4th and a 6th in 2023. However, the Dolphins also have a number 1 pick that they next year, I think.
Yes,
somebody else.
Yes.
So they are. Say what we want about this guy McDaniel. He's pushing the right button so far in the offseason. I'll tell you that much.
Listen, it's not a bad thing to get who's probably the fastest guy in the NFL, and he's super versatile. This is what's different about him than some of the other guys. San Fran does such a great job with Deebo Samuel, and Tyreek Hill is not like Deebo Samuel, but when you have a guy that's this versatile and you could do this many different things with him, so what can you do with him? You could do like speed sweeps. You can do screens.
He can return punts and kicks.
He can return punts. And obviously he loves like the short routes that he ends up, you throw it to him for 6 yards, he takes it for 90.
Oh.
But he also does go and get a deep ball. For a short receiver, for a slot receiver, he surprisingly is a deep threat. Usually the guys in a slot aren't so much of a deep threat. But Andy Reid is such a genius, and he does such a great job of getting him into space down the field. Here's the thing, and we talked about this a little bit, I think, through text, or maybe was it me and you, or was it like I might have been talking with my cousin about this?
You have to tell me what it is first for me to guarantee.
Here's the problem, okay? He's going to Miami, and we've seen this so many freaking times where a super talented receiver leaves the team that he was super talented on and super productive on.
Oh, like OBJ?
Like you can name a number of them, and then they go somewhere else, and you're like, wow, they're going to explode.
Oh, like Julio Jones?
Yeah. Why do I mention this? Well, when he goes to Miami, there will be no Patrick Mahomes. There will also be no Andy Reid. Now, call me crazy, but I think it's a little bit of
crazy.
It's a little bit of a drop off from Patrick Mahomes to tank for Tua Tagovailoa. So just be careful thinking you're just going to like, well, this is what he did over there. This is what he's going to do here. It doesn't always work that way.
Oh, if you think it's going to be the same production, you're crazy, Peter.
Yeah, I am crazy. And I'm not crazy because I know it's not. Unless Jimmy G gets there. Maybe if Jimmy G gets there, it'll work out because he's better than Tua.
Are you happy the Jets were told no thanks on this?
I am because of the price. I saw an article that
the Chiefs agreed to it, but Tyreek didn't.
Oh, is that what happened?
And I'm shocked that the Chiefs let him pick his destination. If they were getting a better holdback from the Jets.
You're starting to see that a little. No. But the Jets didn't offer as much as Miami did.
Yeah, but their picks were higher value.
I don't know that they offered even a first-round pick.
They didn't, but their second-round picks are better than the fourth and the sixth.
Right.
The value comes out better or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus, they had to pay him, so.
I hate giving up first-round picks because those are your – especially when you're a bad team. Like, when you're a bad team, you need to find starters, and you're more likely to find starters in the first round. Let's just be honest. Like, you're looking for starters.
And I love teasing you, but Wilson does have a better arm than Tua, let's be honest.
Oh, my God, dude. Wilson has a top 5-6 arm in the league.
Oh, easy. Put your pants back.
It's true. It's just true. No, there's other deficiencies he has, but no, it would have been nice. Dude, who wouldn't want him? But so not only that, they gave him a bananas contract. They made him the most, They made him the highest paid receiver in the league. So between those two things, I say no, because as I've said a million times with the Jets, they have so many goddamn holes. It would have been great. I mean, who in there? And the other thing is,
you can't
yeah, I mean, who doesn't want Tyreek Hill on your fucking team? I mean, the guy's just insane, right?
It's a video game, yeah.
But you have what you drafted last year was your version, like a poor man's Tyreek Hill. Elijah Moore. He does virtually the same things. Now he doesn't do them as well yet, but Tyreek Hill didn't do them as well when he was a rookie. Like these things take time, and Elijah Moore was hurt a lot last year. The point being, more than anything, you already have that guy, technically, for lack of a better term, on your team. So to overpay and to give up draft picks and all that stuff. I saw the package that they offered. I probably would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
But I would have had issues with the money. That's a shitload of money. That's a shitload of money. What is he averaging? Going to average like $28 million a year or something like that?
Yeah, what was it? 75 guaranteed, 72 guaranteed.
Something bananas.
You know what NFL's getting smarter on too? They're guaranteeing more money and lowering the contract years, which as fans, and we love this offseason stuff. We love it. Because if we're going to get more offseasons like this, dude, sign me up.
Oh, my God. Absolutely. It makes our jobs way more fun. Now, I don't know the semantics of this, but apparently with more guaranteed money, it counts against the cap differently.
It does.
This discussion kind of went on with the Aaron Rodgers contract. Like, yeah, it averages $50 million a year, but because so much, it's almost all guaranteed. X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Ipso facto, I don't freaking know, but somehow it counts less against the cap. I don't know how that works, but whatever. So it's just a lot of dough. And I say that not because like I think it's okay for Miami because I thought they were pretty close without the quarterback. I don't love Tua, but without that, when teams are close, the Bills, the Broncos with the move for Russell Wilson,
The Browns.
Browns, we'll say even like teams who didn't get what they wanted, maybe New Orleans. You look around the league at the good teams. If you want to take a shot at that one guy and you're going to overpay him, the Rams do this, right? They did this with Matthew
They just
Stafford.
did it again today.
What'd they do now?
Bobby Wagner.
They did get him?
Dude.
I know, and he had 170 or 170 tackles this year. God almighty. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. They're playing with a different salary cap, man. I don't know if it's like the California taxes because they end up having, it's crazy. So I understand those teams taking a shot at that one guy because for them, for the Bills, who the hell who was the big signing for
that's
the Bills?
Mr. Von Miller, sir.
Yeah, like that makes sense because you're kind of one play away. One play. If you were able to get pressure on Mahomes with 13 seconds left, you probably win that game, right? Like you might not just be one player, but one play away. I get it. I get those guys taking a shot. Just bad teams, it doesn't make any sense because you're just not there. That guy's you get that guy because you want to win the championship. The Jets are not winning a championship next year, period.
Well, Dolphins aren't either, but
they're closer to it than the Jets are. So, and let's be honest, Tua, as much as we don't love him, he was the quarterback on that 7-game winning streak, and he put up some pretty goddamn good numbers. So we'll see.
Two-part question for you, and one leads into what you're going to say about the Chiefs. This makes them worse, right?
Certainly. Now, there's talk of them trying to make another.
I was trying to think of another word. Worse is
Well, no, it makes them worse. They're not as good a team as they were last year. Right now.
Well, what they have, they went and got Juju. They got Hardman, and what did they get? Valdez-Scantling? Is that official?
I don't know, but that doesn't excite me.
No, it does. No, it shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, you're worse. You're taking one of the best receivers in the league, and you took him off your team. I mean, you can say the same thing about Green Bay right now. They're worse because you lost what many believe to be the best receiver in the league. So you're going to be worse. But you picked up some serious draft capital and you picked up some serious cap space.
Yeah.
So now you get to go. And the other side of it is, not everybody thinks they are, but the Chiefs actually are. They really have a good front office that does phenomenal in draft. They're excellent at their drafts. So, Baltimore is one of those teams that just does great at the drafts. They have no fear of letting players go because they usually do a really good job in the draft, right? So Kansas City is very similar. Like they found Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill didn't play for Alabama. Tyreek played for like Western Michigan or something like that. So they find those players. So now they have I think they got fucking 12 draft picks this year or some shit like that. It's something crazy.
Wow.
Now maybe they packaged some of those. I heard they were interested in trying to get DK Metcalf.
I heard you guys went on their end too.
It wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be against that. I just don't want to pay him $25 million, $28 million. It's just a lot of dough.
You're gonna have
again. I'll say it, they just have too many other spots that needed to be filled.
But at some point, you're gonna have to give some weapons to Wilson too, man.
Yes,
it's like.
But when you're closer to ready for that, that's all. Because like you're saying,
you gotta get closer to ready before you gotta give Wilson more money too. Because at some point, you gotta make a decision.
This is true. It's such a fine line, dude. It's such a fine line. You're absolutely right. The problem is if you think you're 2 years away and you only got 2 years left on DK Metcalf's contract.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, I think the Jets are smart enough to realize they're not a Super Bowl team this year. And they could be like this coming season. And I would expect to be a playoff team the following year. And if you're a playoff team, then
that's
you should.
A tough look right now, man. It's hard to picture that.
I don't know. It's just saying that you got to have a plan. That's got to be part of your plan.
Yeah.
This is why you bring in free agents because you're trying to improve your team. You're a 4-win team last year. I don't expect them to go from, especially in a division with the Bills,
Patriots,
New England, who I think New England hasn't done anything this offseason.
Nothing.
But the Dolphins have. So it's a tough division. The AFC is just everything's gotten better. It's crazy. Monster. So you look at the Raiders and you think of the things that they've done this offseason. You bring in Devontae Adams, you bring in Chandler Jones. They've made a couple other moves that you're like, damn, they really got better. And most pundits will tell you that they're the third or fourth best team in their division, which is crazy. In any other division, they're either 1 or 2. But in the AFC West, they're 3 or 4. Now, maybe that's not fair. I'm not saying it'll go that way. People probably thought that this year, and they ended up in second. So doesn't mean that's how it's going to go. But you look at what the hell am I saying? The Chargers got better. The Raiders got better. Denver got better. All in that same division, right? The Browns got better. You got to think that Baltimore's going to be better because maybe, hopefully, 75% of your team isn't injured.
You got to think the Colts got better.
The Colts got better for sure. So we got to talk about that one too. I totally forgot. I almost skipped over that one. You look at the AFC, man. These teams are getting – the Bills got better because they got Von Miller, obviously. Like, AFC is tough. But you look at that Von Miller contract and you say, well, it's a 6-year contract. But at best, it matters for about 2 years. You know what I mean? He's already 31, 32 years old.
32.
Yeah. So there's not too many like 35-year-old speed rush ends in the NFL that are really super productive. So if you're the Jets, if you're a bad team, you have to have a plan of like, this is where we expect to be at this point, in this point, whether you get there or not. But that has to be your plan. That's why you drafted Zach Wilson. You believed in him. That's why you drafted Elijah Moore. That's why you brought in 2 tight ends this year and whatever. I'm talking about that with any team. You have to at least have faith that you'll be improved, that the coaches that you hired are good, that they're going to keep getting better themselves. They're going to learn about their team, all this kind of stuff. You got to have a plan. So that's got to be and you got to have expectations, and that's got to be their expectations. I don't think they believe that they're, if they were to pull like an Eagles this coming season, like either you maybe flirt with the playoffs a little, and if things shake out weird because other teams have injuries and you sneak in, which is basically what Philly did. Philly wasn't a playoff team last year by talent, but they made the playoffs. That could have, like, you might say, oh, that's possible with the Jets, but I'm just looking as like, to me, the Jets 8-9 wins. Anything less than that is a failure. Anything more than that is a bonus, right? And then the following year, so if you reach your goals, 8-9 wins, the following year you got to be thinking 10-11 wins, right? You got to be, and that's a playoff team. So 10, 11, 12 wins. There's 17 games now. So that's how you got to think. Or else, why did you draft Zach Wilson? Or why are you still holding on to him? You have to have faith that those things. Why'd you bring in a Laken Tomlinson? Why did you? Yada yada. So that's
trade for DK Metcalf if that's the case. Whatever it is.
Yes. So it's just the timing has to be right, or else it's like why you don't want a DK Metcalf so that you can go 8-9. That's my point.
Or worse.
Yeah, if they go worse, there's heads roll. Very likely.
Matty Ice.
So this is an interesting one to me because a lot of people talk about or a lot of people saying like Matt Ryan is kind of washed up and he's too old. Matt Ryan has been the same player for
12 years.
How about like 30 years? Like in high school, he was a statue. Like in high school, he would take the snap, drop back, throw the ball. He wasn't a runner. He never was in college at Boston College, and he never was in Atlanta. He looks exactly the same. His arm strength looks exactly the same. He's mobile enough in the pocket to move. And now you're putting him on a team that has one of the best offensive lines in the league, has one of the best running games in the league, and one of the best running backs in the league, with one of the best defenses in the league. And here's what I wrote down about this. I have said to you that I think Carson Wentz's season last year was a little underrated because I think he had pretty much like 30 or somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 touchdowns, but only like 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
But his timing on some of his turnovers was just
stinky,
unimaginable, right? And I just look and I said, how many games last year, if you take games that were literally handed to the other team by Carson Wentz because of just weird, strange, quirky turnovers, and other games where he just played as bad as anybody has ever played at the quarterback position, how many games? Because Matt Ryan doesn't do that. Matt Ryan throws interceptions, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't do those types of things. He never has a game where he throws for 125 yards. That doesn't happen. 125 yards, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. That doesn't happen.
Right.
Like, he's going to get his yards because he's smart and, he's good at his job. And I just look and I said, how many games would they have won last year? How many more games would they have won if Matt Ryan was a quarterback last year? Nothing else different, just Matt Ryan was a quarterback instead of Carson Wentz. There was 2 games that I can think of off the top of my head where Carson Wentz handed games away because of bananas turnovers. And then there was at least one other game that I remember that he threw for like 120-something yards. And they were in the game still.
I know.
And if you think of that Jacksonville game, he played atrocious. and
Oh man,
and they still had a chance to, could have, should have, would have won the game. I just look at those 3 games.
that was ugly.
Matt Ryan's your quarterback. You win those 3 games, and not only are you in the playoffs, but you're a real threat. I actually believe that the Colts are a real threat this year. I'd like to see them get a wide receiver, whether it be in the draft or something. They're going to need some help there. But he's a real pro. He's the real deal. He is not washed up. Trust me. This guy is not washed up. You're going to get a really good season out of him this year. Really good season. And I'm fascinated. Atlanta has had one of the worst offensive lines in the league for the last couple of years. I'm fascinated to see him back there behind an offensive line with a really good running game. I want to see what that looks like. It's going to be interesting.
Yep.
It's going to be really interesting. Plus, the division is not that good. I know Tennessee is good, but Tennessee lost a cut. They lost a couple. This I'm saying, like, some teams are playing with a different friggin' salary cap because they had to let go of, like, I think it was like a starting tackle, and like they really had to let go of a couple players. Like, they weren't even able to consider signing them. I'm not ready to give up on Matt Ryan. How about you?
Nope, I'm not either.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good spot with a very good coach, quarterback-friendly coach.
Yes.
Healthy run game, dome, so he stays in that kind of atmosphere.
Good point.
So,
yeah. And I think, you could say the same thing that happened with Matthew Stafford. Matt Ryan is a pro and Matthew Stafford is a pro. But things can get stale when you're struggling for a long time.
Definitely.
And I think there can be this like kind of energy revitalization that could go on by joining a good team. That's exactly what happened with Matthew Stafford. He almost looks like a younger guy now that he's in LA with the Rams, playing with, better players around him. And I would suspect that you're going to see something similar to that with Matt Ryan. Just because like, damn, man, this is just different. Look at this. These guys are actually tackling on defense. How bad? We joked about Dan Quinn as, the defense coordinator for the Cowboys doing such a great job. They're the 18th ranked defense in the league. How bad was Atlanta's defense for so long and so many years? They were so bad that no matter what Matt Ryan did, they couldn't win games. I remember 2 years ago when Matt Ryan, they were beating the Cowboys, as a matter of fact. They were up by like 41-16 or something like that and ended up losing the game because they can't friggin' stop anybody. And now you come to a team where it's like you got a really solid defense, man, like a really physical, solid defense that gets after it with a really strong running game. I'm telling you, you're going to see a really good season. You're going to see the Colts are going to make the playoffs, number one. Barring him getting injured, Colts will make the playoffs, and they're a very dangerous team because playoffs comes down running the football, playing defense. The whole season's different. You got to throw the ball. It's a passers league and all that kind of stuff. But we talked about it as the season was ending this year. You remember, like, this is when things get tight. This is when assholes pucker up.
Yep.
You're going to see much more physical play end of the season because teams are fighting their asses off to make the playoffs. And now you got a team that plays physical defense and runs the ball really well with a really good quarterback. Let's not forget, 2 years ago with Phillip Rivers, who looked pretty washed when that season started, they were a couple plays away from beating the Bills in Buffalo in the playoffs there. And I think they had won 11 games that year. So, and Matt Ryan isn't even close to being kind of washed like Phillip Rivers was. So
it's funny. I joked with you last week or the week before that, what would it take to get Matt Ryan there? And I was like, oh, maybe the 2 third-rounders that they just got from the Commanders, and only took one.
Yeah, I have to give you a lot of credit, dude. And I hate doing this again, but I have no choice.
Woo!
This is getting out of control. I'm starting to get a little nauseous.
I'm blushing.
But you called this one like 3 weeks ago, and it was out of thin air. You just pulled this one out of the ether, and I'll be damned if it didn't friggin' happen, dude. So kudos to you on this one. I think I texted you and said this is by far the best call that you made. I would say probably the best call that either one of us has made, frankly, that actually came true. Like, because you just nailed this one on the head. I got to give you credit where credit is due. This was
Thank you, sir.
That was fucked up. You really just shit on that one. Damn. But well, forget it. That's good. That's good.
All right.
We'll leave it at that. That's good. You want to get into the post-mortem for the AFC and NFC West?
Yeah, buddy.
Why don't we start in the AFC West, because we were just talking about the Chiefs. It's a very strange season for the Chiefs, in my opinion. They had their struggles in the middle of the season, and then they went on a nice little winning streak at the end of the season, and everybody kind of looked at them and was like, well, they fixed all their ills. And you know what? They didn't fix all their ills. They were not a perfect team. Patrick Mahomes has some things that he needs to clean up in the offseason. Patrick Mahomes is great. There's not a team in the league other than maybe Green Bay and Buffalo who wouldn't trade their quarterback right this second for Patrick Mahomes. And that includes me. And that's saying something because you know I love Zach Wilson. But he has some things he needs to clean up. Some of the turnovers, holding the ball as long as he does. You can't do that forever, dude. You got to, at some point, you got to start to play a little more within the context and the framework of the scheme.
The no-look nonsense has got to stop for me,
Enough's
too,
enough.
This point.
Yeah, enough's enough.
All right, you can do it. It's cute. All right, let's win football game.
But then when it doesn't work, you look like Baker Mayfield. And you don't want to look like Baker Mayfield. You know, you don't want to look like Johnny Manziel.
That's not the goal.
Yeah, it was kind of cool because it worked and it was odd, and then it was like, okay, now you've done it, and it's not, you know, it's like Philly special when teams run Philly special now. You're like, bro, we've seen this one a million times. The defense even sees it coming. Like it's not interesting anymore. So they have some things they're going to clean up. I do think they took a step back this year. This is what I was going to say before. I think they did this smartly. I think they looked and they said, we're not going to be able to afford all these guys because we've talked about this, right? We have some listeners that are finally starting to understand that the salary cap matters. And most of the time it really comes down to the cap, which is why these moves are made. And I think they were smart enough to look ahead and say, we can't pay all these guys, Kelsey, Hill, this one, that one, Mahomes, and some of the guys
Clark,
on defense.
Chris Jones,
you can't pay them all. So why don't we move them for some serious bag? I mean, they got some serious shit in return. And kind of not start over because as long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you're not starting over, but at least kind of reload. I think they're going to reload, whether it be to package some of those picks for something else or maybe move up in the draft. You know, they're not far. Listen, take a couple of those picks and move up to like the number 10 pick and you can get the kid out of USC or something like that. And all of a sudden you don't even care about Tyreek Hill anymore.
Right.
So they're smart. They have a very smart front office, and I would expect that maybe this could be a down year. When I say down year, I just mean maybe they only win 10 games, 11 games, which is for them is a down year. But we'll see about that. We'll see because there's still moves to be made, and there's still a draft coming.
The Raiders.
You would have to say that this past season was a success, right?
I was going to say maybe a year early they were better than you thought, and now they got. Not counting this offseason, gotten better.
Well, then when you put it into the context of what went on during this past season, whether it was the Henry Ruggs car accident or the whole Gruden thing, I got to give a lot of credit to Carr, and I got to give a lot of credit to the guy who was the interim coach.
Bisaccia,
the Guinea. I got to give both of those guys a lot of credit because they were the two that held. They were the two guys that kept this thing together, and they went on a nice winning.
Mayock stepped down in the middle of the year too, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he did. Was it in the middle of the year or was it at the end of the year?
Maybe at the end, but I
think it was after the season was over, but he's gone too. Yeah, I think but he's gone too. I would have liked to have seen him stay another year without Gruden being there. I think Mike Mayock is a pretty sharp dude, but maybe you just have to go. You know, maybe you just have to go.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen him stay there one more year. But anyway, I think this was a very successful season for the Raiders. And then they bring in a Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones and
re-sign Crosby and
we're going to get into the rest of these teams, but it's a tough division. But they're good. This is a good football team, and we've been saying like you kind of came along and came around on the whole Derek Carr thing, but we both agreed that it would be nice to see what he can do with like real weapons. Well. Now you can't say that anymore, right? Like now you can't be mediocre. The one thing I even complained about Carr was kind of like, you know, he really doesn't turn the ball over, but he doesn't get a ton of touchdown passes. Like he's usually in the mid-20s. Now I think this year he ended up around 30-something, maybe low 30s or something. But he's not always the most productive because he doesn't push the ball down the field. Now you got top 3 receiver in the league. There's no more excuses now. So.
Does Josh McDaniels scare you?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, he's not really a push the ball down the field kind of guy either.
It's not scheme. I think he'll adjust. to scheme for the players he has around him. Most coaches are capable of doing it. I think he's a pretty sharp guy when it comes to scheme. What scares me is I don't trust his conviction. Here's a guy who did a bad job in Denver and then was offered the job and basically said he would take the job with the Colts. I don't trust his conviction, like to walk away from that. And then like, oh, I don't know. It's almost like, I don't know what I want to do. Like you don't get that from like a Parcells. You don't get that from a Jimmy Johnson. You don't get that from a McVay. I don't like any kind of wiggle.
You don't get that from
Mike
John
Tomlin.
Gruden. Keep it close to home.
Yeah. I don't, you don't get that from Tomlin. Like there's no wiggle in what at least what he shows he believes and feels. Yeah. Where he's at. You don't question where Mike Tomlin's at. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust McDaniel. Like, I don't trust that in a year he'd be like, I want to get out of here. I'm going to go back to New England. Like, I just don't trust him. So that's why. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest problem with him. But as far as X's and O's, I mean, yeah, come on. I think he's a pretty sharp dude, and I think he'll adjust. Listen, they adjusted when they brought in Cam in New England and made some pretty good adjustments, right? So I expect he'll be able to do that, but I just don't trust the person more than I don't trust the coach.
Which is even worse.
Absolutely. Because that's not going away.
No.
That's not going away.
The Superchargers.
I want to ask you what you think about the Chargers, because we've kind of been on the bandwagon. You picked them to win the division last year as a
what
little
an
bit
asshole.
Of a, well, and I get it. Why? Because they're like a talented team. Justin Herbert's fantastic.
So me and my buddy from work were talking about this. The Chargers seem to always we were comparing the Chargers and the Chiefs. The Chiefs always have little expectations on defense, but overperform.
Yes.
And the Chargers always come in, man, they got Bosa, they got Derwin James, they got this guy, they just J.C. Jackson, and they always kind of underperform.
Yeah.
And injuries, the coach is an analytical guy, which we both can't stand. The Chargers are a weird team to me, dude. And I know I had him going first last year. It wouldn't shock me if they're fourth this year. And I know that makes no sense, but like.
You remember 2 seasons ago when the Chiefs ended up playing Tampa in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
There was a stretch in that season where the Chiefs didn't win by more than 6 points. Like they were always favored by double digits, but they never won by more than 6. And everybody was saying they do just enough to win the game. Mm-hmm. The Chargers are like the opposite. Like the Chargers do just enough to lose.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're up all day.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Herbert like just spins the ball beautiful. I mean, he's such a great looking athlete. Like he's just looks great. They got these great receivers. Just signed Mike Williams, I think, to like a mega deal. And you just mentioned it with like the Bosa's getting after the quarterback and this one and that one and the safety that they have there. But it's always just enough not to win the game.
It's amazing.
You're losing. They lose sometimes. They underperform against bad teams.
You miss a chip shot field goal. You go for it on 14 something on your own 19. Like
you do just enough not to win.
Yeah.
And that's what, until you break that pattern, I'm going to have a hard time just going all in on you. Talent wise, dude, they're really loaded.
They are. They've been loaded.
That's what I'm saying.
When they had Rivers and LT and Sean Merriman and Gates, they've been loaded for 20 years almost. It's like
I totally agree.
It's crazy.
You look back, there's very few seasons where they're sub 500, but there's very few seasons where they have more than 10 wins.
Yeah, when they're 12-4. Like
it just very rarely happens. Yeah. So it's a weird thing. And then, with some of the decisions that who the hell's their head coach? What the hell's his name?
The guy from the Rams defensive.
Yeah. Well, whatever the hell his name is. With all those fourth down analytic shits, dude, you better adjust that shit or you're going to be out mid fucking season. And I would be the one to fire you. Like, be smart enough. Don't try to be smart.
Brandon Staley.
Don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. Okay. Just go win the game. And there was at least 2 games that I can remember. It was probably more than that he gave away with that kind of shit. And it would have been a playoff team if he didn't.
Yep.
So I don't have faith in him yet either, because I haven't seen the willingness. We talked about Nick Sirianni and his staff and their willingness to make adjustments as the season went on. And they went from a team that went almost like a whole game without running up. They went an entire first half against somebody without running the ball a single time. to being one of the better running teams in the league. They looked at what they did, they looked at their talent, and they made adjustments. I never saw that from Staley with that kind of shit. Like, hey, we're gonna experiment with this, going with it on fourth down, and then when it blows up in your face, like we're sticking with it anyway. Well, then you're just stubborn.
Do you also find it odd that he leaves the Rams and they win the Super Bowl?
No,
Or just kind of like weird, like
shit
coincidence?
happens like that sometimes.
Yeah. I was just curious. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't think so. Listen, there's a reason he got the job is because he was doing a great job with their defense. And if I remember correctly, their defense that year was the third-ranked defense in the league. So it's not like the problem was their defense. According to everybody, the problem was Jared Goff. So, no. But I just don't have confidence in him. And now when you look around the league and you say, like, all the successful coaches are offensive coaches, and this now includes Belichick, who I think the number of seasons is 7 or 8 seasons without Tom Brady, and he has a significantly sub 500 record. So you could say what you want to say.
Yep.
And it, defensive coaches, and unfortunately the Jets friggin' coach is a defensive coach.
And mine for once is not. Holy shit.
Seattle has a defensive coach.
Pittsburgh.
Jets have a defensive coach. Pittsburgh has a defensive coach. New England has a defense. And you look at who's struggling on offense lately. It's all those teams with defensive coaches. Denver just fired their defensive head coach.
Yep.
So those kind of things scare me a little bit. But
the Commanders have a defensive coach?
Correct. And they don't put points on the board. Why? Because defensive coaches by nature are way more conservative because they don't want to put their defenses in bad positions.
The Vikings fired theirs. Dolphins fired theirs.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
And hired offensive coaches. So
correct.
The only one that you could point to right now and say he's being successful, and that's McDermott up in Buffalo. He's
and you know what? Coach. And now hold the phone on that with Daboll now gone. Let's see how they
we shall see, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I was just gonna say he was at least smart enough to hand over the entire offense to Daboll.
He was.
Now any head coach will tell you that he has final say over we're gonna run the ball here, we're gonna go for a quarterback sneak here, go ahead and throw it, push it down. I want to take a shot down the field. But he handed the whole offense over and said, go do your thing. Now he's not there. You make a great point. So
another one?
I'm getting sick of this shit. I'm not going to say it anymore. It actually feels bad in my mouth.
But we're both high on Ken Dorsey too. So let's see what Ken Dorsey does with that offense.
We shall see. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And then finally, your team, the Broncos, their season was meh.
Ponies.
But the big thing is they brought in Russell Wilson.
That's a pretty good phrase for it.
It was meh. Yeah. They bring in Russell Wilson without really giving up significant starters on offense, which I think is huge. I never would have thought that was possible. I just didn't think it was possible, man. I just assumed you would have to give up, I don't know, maybe like a Judy or something like that. I don't know. I thought you'd have to give up something more significant, and they didn't. I guess we were really talking about it with Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think it's too much less to get Russell Wilson. But it's big. It's a big deal. It just sucks the division you're in. That division is crazy, dude. Somebody has to come in fourth. So and I'm not ready to make any kind of predictions on that.
Somebody has to come in first too, bro.
I'm going to be honest with you with the Tyreek Hill thing, and depending on what happens in the draft, there's an argument to be made that the Chiefs can be in fourth with like 10 wins. Is that possible? Is it even like numerically possible?
It can't be.
Like somebody has to come in fourth, and there's not a single team in that division, if they were in another division, would be lower than second.
Man, I tell you, those AFC West games are going to be awesome.
Oh my God! Well, we thought that was going to be the case with the NFC West this year, but Seattle laid an egg. But the other three teams were very good.
Yeah, they all made the
Arizona
playoffs.
Started off. We're about to talk about it. Arizona started off 10-0, and obviously the Super Bowl winner came out of there. So, which leads us right into it. Why don't we get into that? Right.
Well, let me one more thing on my Broncos.
Expound on the Broncos a little, please.
Love the roster. Rookie head coach makes me a little nervous, but
let me ask you a question, so this will lead you into it. You got Russell Wilson, which is great, and it's obvious, right? Do you see any like glaring holes that it would be, or even like somewhat major holes that need to be filled before the season starts?
I haven't loved our linebacking crew from the middle in a couple of years. They got good players But I wouldn't, they don't have a Bobby Wagner in his prime or a guy like that. Not many teams do. Don't get me wrong. The two linebackers that they do have are coming off injuries, and they both re-signed them. That makes me a little nervous. I would have liked to see them maybe
they deal with that in the draft.
They don't have much draft capital now to move up, but there's a couple guys I like. You won't get the kid Lloyd from Utah. Nakobe Dean from Georgia, who I love. Not as much as I love Michael Asher, but I love him. He'll probably go late first round, so they won't get him. But there are some guys. I do trust their front office. They've drafted well the last 2 years. Which is
what's the guy's name? Pace or
George Payton?
Payton.
Other than that, their offensive line is pretty good. They got the tight end, Albert O. He'll be the starter with Fant gone in the trade. Their secondary is very good. Their pass rush is very good. Their running game is very good. They have weapons on the outside.
They do.
But it's the rookie head coach in the division that's going to come down to it, man. That's basically the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who the other coaches are. You got Staley, you got McDaniel, you got Andy Reid.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Andy Reid does have a significant advantage over those other guys.
He does.
Significant.
Well, listen, McDaniels has experience.
He does.
Not very good, but he's got it. And Staley, we just hit on that we're both not super confident in him. So,
by the way, defensive head coach.
Yes, sir.
So,
yeah,
it'll be. I tell you what, man, that division. If you ask me right now, I'd have a hard,
I can't either.
Hard friggin' time.
And dude, there's pressure on him, man. Staley.
Oh shit, yeah.
Woo.
Dude, God forbid they come in fourth and he pulls some more of that fourth down bullshit or something. Just like, you got to be careful, dude. It's one thing to be an innovator. It's another thing to be crazy. Like I remember hearing this quote. It says, if you're one step ahead of everybody, you're an innovator. If you're 2 steps ahead, you're crazy. Like, don't be 2 steps ahead. Like, just, try to just be better than everybody else, but don't be so much different that you're like, this guy's bananas. We need to fire him immediately. And I tell you, don't think that that's crazy, because when you look at the rest of this division, whether it be the coaches or the teams, if you're the Chargers and you're not, and you feel like the issue is your head coach, the division isn't getting any easier anytime soon, because Carr, Wilson, and Mahomes ain't going anywhere. And very soon, you're going to have to pay Justin Herbert. And you don't want to do something stupid where he wants to walk because your head coach is a moron. Okay. So I actually look and I say, Staley to me might be on a hot seat. If they don't make the playoffs again this year, I'm telling you, I would probably expect him to be fired. I wouldn't call for him to be fired because I don't like that shit. I don't do that unless you're really bad, like a Rich Kotite, Jets.
Oof.
But if they come in fourth, and plus, they made some significant moves in the offseason to better their team to make a run at it. I would suspect that he would get fired if they come in fourth next year.
How long was Rich Kotite Jets? 2 years or 1?
I think it was 2.
Yeah.
Maybe it was only 1. He is literally the worst head coach in the history of football.
And that was 30 years ago. Now guys are getting fired maybe a year in, 2 years in. So it's
I think it was a year. Dude, it was bad.
Was he before or after Bruce
Meyer
Coslet?
Looked like a genius. What?
Oh, was he before or after Bruce Coslet?
I don't know.
Man, you've had some fucking runs at coaches, man.
Bruce Coslet.
You don't remember him?
Jets coach?
I think so. Wasn't he?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Chiefs and Valdez-Scantling agree to deal.
It doesn't bother me.
Dude, I want to look at this real quick.
Bruce Coslet.
Bro, the coaches you guys have had.
It's been so. Do you have a list there?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Oh my God. I don't even want to know. I don't know if I want to hear this.
I'm going to start. Well, when did you start following? The 80s?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
So, Lou Holtz, you know him.
I was before my time.
Walt Michaels, before your time. Joe Walton, 83
Joe Walton is when I kind of started knowing the Jets.
Bruce Coslet.
How many years was Walton there?
83 to 89.
Yeah, he had a good run.
And he made the playoffs a couple times.
Yeah, and that's when what's his name was a quarterback, and he's actually underrated, but
Kenny O'Brien.
Underrated.
Yeah, he gets bad luck. He gets like that bad
well, because they could have had Dan Marino, and instead they get Kenny O'Brien from like Cal State Fullerton or wherever the hell.
Bruce Coslet, 1993.
I don't even know who the hell Bruce Coslet is.
Man, I'm so smarter than you. You
I
want to say
swear.
it again?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not doing
Pete Carroll, 1994.
Bad.
Rich Kotite, 95, 96.
They gave him 2 years.
Oh my God.
Dude, he was
You
the
want,
worst.
you want to know
I'm
his
telling
record? You
Go
want to guess
ahead.
his record?
No.
Can I tell you?
3, 4 wins?
428.
Oh.
How did you give him a second year?
What was Pete Carroll's record?
Doesn't
He was
tell
almost
me.
500, right?
Doesn't tell me.
Oh, what a bastard.
Bill Parcells, only for 3?
He walked.
Al
That guy didn't-
Groh
It just
for
beat him
1.
up.
9 and 7, Al Groh, goodbye. Herm for 4.
Herm was good.
Herm was good. Mangini
He had no
started out
talent.
well, and then
Yeah,
Favre
no
getting hurt
talent.
fucked him up.
Yep.
Rex,
I didn't mind Rex when he was the head coach, but he's another one because
he wore
was
himself out.
he was more personality. He just wears people thin, man.
Todd Bowles, who was
It's all talk,
decent.
talk.
In the grand scheme of things, and the last 2 guys,
Had no quarterback.
yeah, and Gase, and then now Salah.
Gase is. Oh my god, I forgot about Gase. Jesus Christ.
How do you forget about Gase?
I want to.
Oh, okay.
So bad, man.
It's the,
bad hires.
It's the CT
Now you understand why Jets fans love Joe Douglas. Because you
Yeah,
just
the guy's got a
look and
clue. The guy's finally got a clue.
he's got a clue. I don't even know if he's great yet. I'm just saying the guy's got a friggin' clue.
Sorry to bring back memories there. Just I had to
I got some PTSD. Look at my shirt. This is what you did to me. This is why you did it.
Your armpits are sweating.
Oh, I know. See what you did to me? Oh,
Rich coat type 4.
Rich. He was so dude.
Where was he from? Philly?
Philly. They were warned. Don't hire this guy. Do not hire this guy.
Who hired him? Hess?
Hess.
Yeah.
Dude.
Wow.
Why'd you do that to me? We weren't even talking about the Jets.
I don't know how we got into that, but I'm glad we did it.
We're talking about Staley being
It's
fired
good- it's
after
good
another
content.
season. Oh, Jesus Christ. I feel sick. We got to end the show. Oh, my God.
NFC West.
I'm going to go cry.
Super
I-
Bowl
well, yeah.
champions.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Los Angeles Rams. I mean, what can you say, bro? They every button they pushed was right. No depth. They had guys getting hurt in the right spots because they had a little depth. They made a move when Akers went down. They went and got Sonny Michel. Then they got the guy back after an Achilles tear, which is bananas by itself.
If you want to know the story of the Rams, here's the story of the Rams. Great front office, great head coach. Okay. And they work in tandem. They don't work.
And
Autonomously.
they had star power in the right spots.
Yeah. And some of that star power is because of the great head coach and great front office. Like you brought in some guys. You were smart enough, which I didn't know. At the time, I didn't think it was a great idea, but they gave a shitload of money to Aaron Donald. I thought it was too much for a defensive tackle. It was not. I was wrong. They were right. They brought in Matthew Stafford, which was ballsy. I didn't know if it was the right thing to do. I kind of thought they would come up short. I was wrong. They were not. They brought in OBJ.
After Robert Woods went down.
After Robert Woods went down, I didn't think it was a good idea. Why would you bring in this kind of
during it. He actually got hurt that week, which was weird.
Why would you bring in this kind of cantankerous guy when you have like a championship quality roster here? Why would you bring this guy in that's kind of polarizing?
Cooper Kupp had the greatest year of any receiver in the history.
I was wrong. They were right.
Man.
So they made all the right moves. Now here's the thing about that, dude. That
How long can you do it for?
forever.
Right. Yep.
Okay. All your moves are working like you're friggin' geniuses. This can't go on forever. And then when it stops working, when you make some bad moves,
they're gonna be bad for like 2 years until they get.
Now you're stuck with bad players and no draft picks. But as for what we're doing here is we're breaking down this past season, and everything we were concerned about didn't happen. The shallowness of their team was not an issue. It was overcome when it came to the wide receiver thing. You know, McVay did a good job. Matthew Stafford was fantastic. Matthew Stafford won 2 playoff games for them. I didn't know that it was there. I wanted to see it before I believed it. I am now a believer. Not that I didn't think he was talented. I've been chirping up Matthew Stafford forever.
Yeah, we were both rooting for him.
But it was a matter of, can he win a Super Bowl? And I thought it would take a little longer than 1 friggin' year. And they were right. I was wrong. So a number of things. Great season by the Rams. Great win. Great Super Bowl. What else can you say? We'll see what happens moving forward.
The San Francisco 49ers.
This is a weird team. They do not have an elite quarterback. They do not have what I would call an elite wide receiver. elite. He's an elite player. I don't even know that he's a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Might be top 6 or 7.
The fact that he does so many things makes him elite to me. Makes him elite to me. Because I think there's a lot of teams that would love a guy like that.
No. That's not what I mean. Yeah, if that's what if it sounded like I was downplaying him as a player, that's not what I meant. I just mean as purely as a receiver.
Yeah, he's not Adams. He's not Kupp. He's not. Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
I got you.
I love him.
Yeah,
I love him. We chatted him up in the playoffs because I'm like, here's a guy who is risking his body taking handoffs as a running back
to help
when running backs don't make money and wide receivers get all the bag.
Yeah.
So
clearly,
I give him tons of credit, and you want to talk about a guy, I would rather give up those kind of picks for a Deebo Samuel than I would for a Tyreek Hill, just because I like the guy. I just love the guy. Okay, so please don't mistake what I was trying to say there. You don't have an elite quarterback. You don't have like what we would call a big time elite receiver. It's just a weird team. They're the opposite of the Chargers. They find ways to win. And you can say what you want about Jimmy G. I don't think he's great, but I think he's pretty darn good. And more than anything, what it comes down to, what this league comes down to, what did Herman Edwards say? You play to win the game. And Jimmy G is a fucking winner. You can say whatever you want. The guy wins football games, people.
Can I make a statement?
Of course you can, especially with the streak of rightness that you've been on.
The longer this goes on, the longer like the Niners want to throw him away, the more I like him. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, because it almost is starting to feel like disrespect.
It's gotten past that for me. I think it's very disrespectful, to be honest with you, for a guy that you don't know anything about.
3 years ago, you go to the Super Bowl and you're like basically a quarter away and one pass away from winning the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And this year, you're about 8 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl on the road at Green Bay. You got a double-digit lead, a 2-possession lead, and you lose the game. And I don't put that on Jimmy G. I just think
at Los Angeles Rams, they beat Green Bay in Green Bay.
Oh, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. It was you have a double-digit lead,
and you're all banged up. You got a wide receiver playing running back. It's bananas.
You got to give the guy a little something, man. Yeah. I just, it's starting to feel. It feels a little disrespectful. This is kind of the feel I had with the whole Jared Goff thing. Like, we're just gonna shit on the one guy. It's not on anybody else. Like, he didn't have anything to do with going to the Super Bowl 2 years before that. And that's how I feel like. So in 3 years, you've gone to the Super Bowl and almost won it, and you've almost gone to the Super Bowl. You're a 1 game shy, and you should have gone with that guy. And when you don't have him, you win about 30% of your games. So you can say what you want to say. The guy's a fucking winner, and that's what you want to do. That's what we're here to do, is win football games. When we talk about, I was mentioning what the expectations were for the Jets moving forward, like maybe 8 wins this year and 11 wins the following year. We're not talking about how many points they score. Nobody gives a shit about how many points you score. They just care about your record.
Yep.
I don't know how many. I know the Rams scored a lot of points last year. I don't know how many, because it doesn't matter. We know they won the Super Bowl, and that's all that matters. Winning football games, and Jimmy G wins. And that's why you actually make – you said something.
Ooh, man.
That's why it's not a bad idea about Jimmy G going to Miami. Jimmy G going to Miami. I just came up with that idea. I kind of like it. Jimmy G going to Miami because, listen, you just brought in this Tyreek Hill guy. You already have a decent defense. Why not bring in a winner at quarterback?
Can you see Jalen Waddle being somewhat of a Deebo Samuel, or much more talented as a wide receiver?
You're gonna make me do it again, aren't you?
You make a great point, Scotty. Go ahead, say it. It feels so good. Point. It feels good.
But do you fear that Waddle and Hill are too similar?
No, I don't.
You do not?
Nope.
Okay. Fine.
And they have Gesicki too, dude. They're ready to go, man.
It was a big deal. Bring in Jimmy G.
Ooh.
Bring in Jimmy friggin' G. And does anybody use a tight end better than Jimmy G? With Kittle?
Maybe Brady. That's it.
Maybe.
That's it.
Kittle. He lives on Kittle.
And where did Jimmy G learn that from?
I was just going to say, who did he get that from? Shit, I was too slow. You son of a bitch.
Sandbagging son of a bitch.
I feel like Yoda. So, yes, it's weird because they don't necessarily put a lot of points on the board. They play good defense, but they have issues in a defensive backfield. But they're a good football team. They have a good head coach, and they have a good front office. And It'll be interesting to see what they do with the kid. What's the kid's name? The quarterback. What the hell's his name?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. I don't know.
It almost feels like for
What's
me,
the
I'm rooting
rush?
so much for Jimmy G, and I want this kid to fall on his face. I'm not against Lance.
Nothing against him. He's a
yeah.
nice kid. Yeah. It's just, what's the rush? That's my point. What's the rush?
And now look, you're definitely the second best team in that division. The Seahawks are a mess. The Cardinals, we'll talk about them in 10 seconds. They have the best first halves of the year, and they fall on their face in the second half of the year.
So
and
let's
with
get to that.
Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, let's get to that. Kyler Murray made a big stink in the offseason, but if you look at their regular season, listen, they won 10. They were the last undefeated team. They were what was it 10-0? They're 10-0.
Did they get the double digits? I think they did. I think they did. And then what? Did they lose the last 5 out of 7 or 5?
Something. I think it was 5 out of 7, something to that degree, and then get busted out in the first round.
Let's
right?
look this up here. Let's see.
Come on, what do you got over there on your little mini smart machine? These things are so handy. I should get me one.
You don't have one?
It's not that smart.
So they finished 11-6.
Would they win 8 straight games then? I thought
they were 7-0. Loss, win, and they lost the last 5 out of 6. Wow.
5 out of 6.
And they beat Dallas in Dallas. That's right. Wow.
Now, if that happened one time,
they lost at Detroit. They got murdered at Detroit. Remember that game?
Yes, I do.
Man.
If this had happened one time, you'd be like, they ran out of gas. This is what, the 3rd year in a row that this has happened with Arizona?
Every
3 years in a row.
Every year on the cliff.
Get off to a good start. So he's on the hot seat too this year. If they come,
I definitely agree with that.
If they come in 3rd place in this division this year, he's going to get fired because you're not going to get rid of Kyler Murray. I don't like him. Never was a big fan. I just, this is what happens, dude. Russell Wilson comes into the league and he poisons the well. Not by any fault of his own, but it's like, wow, you can get these undersized quarterbacks. Don't do it. Don't do it, folks.
Well, the Seahawks got him in the 3rd round. The Murray was the first pick
overall. Exactly. Okay. Don't do it, folks, because it's not just the height of seeing over the line, although that's real. It's the toughness. Russell Wilson is a goddamn fire hydrant. Okay. He's thick and strong and physical. Kyler Murray is a wee man. He is thin. He is light. He gets hurt, and when the season comes to an end, he doesn't take over. He didn't run one time in a playoff game. No, not a single goddamn time.
And he was making Wentz-like mistakes in that playoff game.
Exactly. Very Wentz-like. Good point. So,
by the way, off topic real quick, you speak about Wee Man, you got to watch a new Jackass. Unbelievable.
Do I have to?
I
don't like that stuff.
I was crying laughing last night.
I don't like that stuff. Ugh, it's not my kind of thing. But under your suggestion, I'll do it. What the hell else I got to do?
Pour bourbon and sit back, throw your feet up.
Yeah. And finally, the Seahawks, total disaster this year. Russell Wilson not only doesn't play particularly well in the beginning of the season, but then he gets hurt. He was out, 4 weeks? Probably came back too early.
He did, yeah.
Okay, which I give him credit for. I love that. If I'm being honest, I love it out of him. I don't love it out of the
And
Seahawks.
that's why, same thing with Baker. They suck, but the guy, he played.
Yeah, except
with a sling
Russell
on his
Wilson
arm
isn't an asshole. That's the difference.
Well,
and he's also much better. I don't question Baker's heart. I don't think anybody, not even Colin Cowherd, who can't stand Baker, I don't think anybody's questioning Baker's heart.
Dude, you can't, because then you're just making shit up at that point.
Yeah, Nat, it's a fallacy. No, the guy, he plays his ass off. He works his ass off. He tries hard. Don't get me, that's not it. It's just not that talented. And now there is no Russell Wilson in Seattle. So
if you're Seattle, do you trade Metcalf and see what you can get for him?
I was just thinking about
type
that.
Of thing, like
when I first heard that somebody was even, inquiring about him, I'm like, wow, you're going to get rid of your best receiver? And then I'm like, you don't have anybody to throw him the ball anyway, right. And you're kind of in a rebuild mode. So
Wagner's gone. Their defense stinks too, dude.
In a year, you're going to have to give him a mega contract. You don't even know who your quarterback is. So why are you going to give a receiver a mega contract when you don't have a quarterback to throw him the ball?
Yeah.
So why not get rid of him now and get more draft capital and really start over?
Right. But it just doesn't make sense with Pete Carroll doing it. It's like,
and I will say
71. I know you say he's a young 71, but man,
it's not the physical part like a Parcells issue. But what the issue is to me is he's a little archaic in his thinking, as like with X's and O's. Like he's just a little simplistic. He hasn't evolved as much as other coaches have. Not on the defensive end, but on the off. He hasn't allowed it on the offensive.
How many defensive coach? How many years you watch these games and you're like, all right, Seahawks are down 20-10 to the Giants at home, and then you're like fourth quarter. Hey Ross, you want to go win this for me, man? Appreciate
go
it.
after it.
And then they win 23-20. You're like, what
Yep.
the hell? It's at some point, it's too stressful, man.
Obviously, that's why he wanted out of there. That's why he wanted. He's like, get me the hell out of this place. They're gonna struggle this year. It's gonna be a rough season, but they also have, to me, what I think is a pretty good front office. I think Pete Carroll has been the problem. I think he insisted on Jamal Adams. I think he was the one that was willing to pay because he wanted to bolster his defense because he's a defensive guy and the defense wasn't playing well, so he wanted to bring in a game changer. Yeah, it was a massive, massive mistake, and it's still paying off for the Jets. So I think he's the problem because I think they actually have a pretty decent front office, but he ain't going anywhere right now.
What pick of yours is the Seahawks? The 7th?
It's 10 or 11. I think it's 11.
So they would have 9 and 11 if they had. Well, maybe they don't trade Wilson if they have that pick too. The whole thing changes if they don't do that deal with the Jets. So I can't say that. That's not
a good question. Accurate because who knows what the record would have been that year?
Yeah,
and everything changes if they don't make that. So they might not even have made the playoffs.
The predetermined outcome or whatever.
Yeah, you can't go by that. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. So we'll see. That division next year is not going to be as good as it was, at least looking like it coming into this past season. But listen, there's still a lot of talent in Arizona. There's clearly a lot of talent with the Rams, and the 49ers are a very good football team. So it is still a very good division. The West is loaded. I mean, you look at the two divisions, AFC West, NFC West. There's one team that you're like, this team's going to stink.
So you can make an argument for 7 of them.
Teams are potential playoff teams. And I mean, 7 of them can be really good, like really good, man. Like Super Bowl potential good.
And now we'll start getting into the draft a little bit more as the weeks go on. We got about a month until the draft starts.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of year. Because
I feel like there's gonna be one more crazy deal too. I just have a feeling.
It wouldn't surprise me. You mentioned about DK Metcalf and would I want him with the because you were saying would you like Tyreek Hill? I would take a DK Metcalf because he fits a need.
Correct.
Okay, so he's also young. Not that Tyreek Hill is old, but you know what I mean. He's still very young. He's only in his third year.
He's probably at least 3 years younger than Hill.
Okay, then that makes sense. And he fills a need. Like they have Elijah Moore, who's kind of like that scat receiver.
Corey Davis, your possession receiver.
You're kind of mid-range. Corey Davis isn't only a possession receiver, but he's kind of like he's not exactly a deep.
But threat. He has been playing with AJ Brown. They kind of turned him into that with the Titans.
Yeah,
and then you guys.
I think he's more than that. But yeah, he's at the very least he's kind of mid-range.
Dude, you can't tell me he can't be the Seahawks Tyler Lockett?
Yes, which would be fine. And then you have a DK Metcalf who could blow the top off.
And you have a tight end now.
And you have a tight end. That move would make more sense to me than the Tyreek Hill thing. Now, what would it cost? I have no idea. I have to assume if it didn't cost a 1, if you could do it for like a 2 and a 4 or something like that, I would be down with that.
2 twos? Would you give 2 twos?
I don't think I would give away
this year, next year.
I don't think so.
Man.
That's a lot. You're expecting a number 2 pick to be a starter, dude.
Yeah, but you're getting DK Metcalf. Are you going to get that guy in the draft?
I understand.
And you're not. Listen,
I don't know. Maybe.
What are you doing defensively? I mean, the first 2 picks. You pass rush corner,
defensive tackle. Yeah. And they're talking safety, but I don't know about that.
So many holes.
So many holes. Dude. It's less than there was. They've made some good moves. The Jets.
Your dad was a Jet fan, correct?
Yeah.
And I will never say a bad word about Mr. Calisano, but he did you dirty.
I love my father. I miss him terribly, but he
was a fantastic man, but he screwed
he screwed me with this one. All right, let's get to some March Madness. And I don't know if you saw this game. This is where I'm going to have to pay off my bet. But I don't know if you saw this game. I'm sure you did.
Go ahead.
The North Carolina
Baylor game. How did you lose this bet? What the hell did you have?
Here was the bet. Mike Dean from Dean Dome Sports, who has tried desperately to call us out, and me specifically, on calling the NFC East the worst division in football, where it clearly is. He texts me and says something like, Baylor's going down, and I flip on the TV, and it was like, I don't know, 21-6 or 21-7 or something like that.
Early. Okay.
North Carolina was up a lot early. And he's like, it's
Didn't
over.
even get to the second TV timeout yet. He's going
That's what
fucking.
I'm saying. So I said, dude, I'll take Baylor right now. Give me Baylor +4. You in? And he says, let's do it. And I said, okay.
Oh my God.
Tell me about it. You see where this is going, right?
Yeah.
I said, give me Baylor +4.
You got a +4 at that point, not for the total of the game.
No, at that point, I said, give me just Baylor +4 at the end of the game, right? So like as the game line, Baylor +4. Because they're down. I mean, Baylor was probably favored in that game.
By 7.
Were they favored by 7?
Yeah.
So they're down by like 13. And I'm like, just give me Baylor +4. And he says, okay, what's the bet? And I said, here's the bet. If Baylor covers, then you have to do a promo for Bump and Run Sports Podcast on your podcast. I said, if North Carolina covers, I'll do a promo for yours. Now, North Carolina is shitting on Baylor the entire goddamn game.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm on the road and I'm coming back and I'm listening to the game on the radio because he texted he said something like, oh, Baylor's going to come back. And I'm like, dude, they're down by 13. What are you talking about? Like, there's a long way to go. And there was only maybe 9 minutes left. Well,
Defending national champions. He's writing them off in the first.
Come on. I'm like, but they're down by 13. Give me a break. It's not like they're only down by 3 now, Yeah. I'm like, come on, they're down by 13. This is a long way to go. Well, I get back to my place with like 5 minutes left, and now Baylor does go on a run.
Yeah.
And if anybody was watching these games, that Baylor actually, I think they might have taken a lead in regulation, but the game ends up going overtime. Now, if Baylor just would have lost the goddamn game by like a point or two, I win my bet, which would have been righteous, because my point of making the bet was simply to say, don't write off Baylor this early in the game. There's a long way to go.
Right.
And I was right, but I was wrong. So let me say this. Why don't you guys head on over to Spotify or Anchor, and you'll find Mike Dean over at Dean Dome Sports. Now, Mike has a sharp eye. Oh, this is hurting my soul.
I'm a little nauseous myself.
Mike has a sharp eye for sports. He knows what he's talking about. He does a great job. And you know what Mike does maybe more than anybody else? He'll find that little thing, that little statistic, that little point, that little angle, and drive it home. And you're like, I didn't think of that. Does a great job with that. So head on over to Dean Dome Sports. Sorry, I had a little something caught me. Head on over to Dean Dome Sports on Spotify or Anchor and check out Mike Dean. See what a great job he does.
Wow, well done.
Over there.
Yeah, that's a toughie. That's a toughie.
Give me a second.
And usually when you go to overtime, the underdogs go to die, and he snuck one out.
Dude, I'm like, you came all the way back, and then they shit the bed in overtime.
Yeah,
they ended up losing by
3 guys fouled out quick, and like
7,
the 3 of their best players. But I think I owe you an apology, sir. My maize and blue Wolverines busted up your bracket. Rumor has it.
Thanks a lot.
You can't trust Rick Barnes and Tennessee Volunteers. That's number one issue.
Well, St. Peter's did me wrong too. Anyway, I took it right
St.
up
Peter's
the
did everybody dirty. So and it's a great story.
I had Kentucky in the Final Four.
We're sitting here Thursday night last week, and I will not mention the young man's name because I don't want to embarrass him. But where the hell's St. Peter's? I go, dude, it's down the fucking road. He goes, no. I go, yeah. He goes, that's the same St. Peter's? I go, yeah.
Yeah.
I go, there's a high school to college right next to each other.
Jersey City or something, right? Is it Jersey City or Jersey City? Yeah.
Goes,
they don't belong beating Kentucky. That's for sure.
And they're gonna have a tough time beating Purdue tomorrow too.
If they can beat Kentucky, they can beat Purdue.
If Purdue takes more than 10 threes, they should be. Everyone should be fired.
The St. Peter's little.
They're small. Yeah,
They're small.
Purdue's got 3 7-footers.
That's a tough matchup.
Yeah,
but you would have thought Kentucky was a pretty tough matchup.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah,
and you know what? Now I'll be rooting for him. Like, screw it now. I want everybody to lose to St. Peter's. So, although this does help my overall pick of Gonzaga winning the championship because some of the tougher teams have been eliminated.
So we'll jump right in. Gonzaga plays Arkansas this evening.
Arkansas is a good team, and Arkansas plays fast, and they're good.
Musselman could coach; they could win that game.
Yeah, they don't play much defense, but they can score and score fast.
Gonzaga looked scary last week against Memphis for a long time.
It's funny. I wanted to text you and say, dude, take Memphis. Memphis, if you remember, there was a point during the season, Penny Hardaway is the head coach of Memphis, and he kind of had a bad moment where he was like going off on the media because the media was giving him shit because he really did a great recruiting job. He got a lot of great freshmen in there, but they weren't really, they were kind of underachieving for what we think of when you bring in great freshmen.
Sure.
And I remember thinking, okay, keep an eye on this team because this is what happens. You know, a team gets shit on by the media and they're like, screw these guys. And they come out and they play really hard and win games. And they played much better down the stretch. And I just had a feeling, listen, this is not the same Gonzaga team from last year that just blows everybody out by 20 points. They're good. And I still think they could win the championship. But I had a feeling they were double-digit favorites. I think they were favored by 10 or 11. And I just had a feeling that Memphis was going to cover that one, and they did. So they still lost. So Gonzaga's still there.
Michigan Nova, tough game. Nova's very good. Michigan's getting hot at the right time, looks like. We'll see.
Villanova is the East Coast version of Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really recruit one-and-doners. They recruit guys to come and stay for at least 3 years. And it pays off for them. And
they develop well under the seniors and juniors that are there. It's pretty
beautiful program he's got going over there.
Yeah, he's very good. I like Jay Wright.
Jay Wright is very
tough
good.
One for my Wolverines, but I'll be rooting and watching.
But you would have to say, regardless of what happens, this tournament has been a success for the Wolverines.
After the first round win, I everything was gravy. Now it's even better. Now you got biscuits.
I mean, you want the win. Don't get me
wrong.
wrong. You're not just satisfied. But I'm just saying, like, if they did lose, you'd be like, dude, this was great.
No, for sure. I'm not, it's not one of those years where, like, it's like a number 1 seed, like last year. And they
play in the first round?
Colorado State.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was an unfair seed.
They've had a tough draw.
It was an unfair. I was telling my buddies, it was an unfair seed for Colorado State. Because Michigan at their best is not an 11 seed. There's not even close.
Right. Yeah.
So they had a down year, but they were replacing – this is supposed to be a down year for them anyway. They're replacing 2 NBA guys and 2 senior leaders and blah, blah, blah. A lot of freshmen.
Yeah.
So everything now is gravy. I agree with you. Texas Tech Duke. Every game now could be Coach K's last. You just never know.
Absolutely. Played a real great game. They had a real great game against
Michigan State.
Awesome game. Michigan State's just one of those teams. You look at the two teams and you're like, Duke is so much better than
I know.
Duke is so much better than Spartans. And then with 5 minutes left, it's a tie game. Like,
it took them like 37 and a half minutes to get away from them a little bit.
Yeah. And then finally Duke pulled away. And you're like, that should happen. But Izzo's a great coach. He does a great job. They're very rarely, and I'll say never, the most talented team, but they play their asses off.
They've made 25 straight tournaments, dude. I don't like the prick, but he can coach.
Yep.
Another underrated game, Arizona-Houston, I think could be a one-possession game.
Houston is a good basketball team, dude.
They have been for a little while now. Team. Calvin Sampson could coach. He's a good place for him.
He was at Indiana, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was really successful at Oklahoma, and then Indiana was a mess. Indiana's been weird for a while now. And then he did something stupid. I think he got let go, and then he kind of laid under the radar. Now Houston's a perfect spot for him.
Oh my God, dude, they are a very good basketball team.
They are aggressive. They are fast. They can offensive rebound with the
good
best
guards.
of them.
Yep, good guards.
And then one other game I put on notice here is Kansas Providence. Providence being on the East Coast here, Big East team.
Yep,
Mr. Chris loves them. Ed Cooley's a very good underrated coach. Everyone in the business seems to like him.
Yeah.
And Kansas is always one of those blue blood top 5 teams, but Bill Self has only won 1 national championship. We kill the guy.
They have a history of getting knocked out in bad spots. They made the Sweet 16.
This could be one of them for him.
It could. And this would be a disappointment if they got knocked out there. So I don't know that you get killed as if you lost in the first round, but you're going to take some shit if you lose this game to Providence. Providence is what seed are they?
A 4 seed, I think, sir.
So it's a 1 versus 4?
Yep.
I mean, it's not the biggest upset, but what's the spread? It's probably like an 8-point spread.
What do I tell you?
Why don't you find that out for me? I'm going at 7.5, 8 points.
I think that's a little high.
You think so?
Nova's 4.5 over the Wolverines. Gonzaga's a 9.5 over the Razorbacks. Oh my God, that looks juicy.
I'll take Arkansas on that one.
My God.
Give me Arkansas there.
The Blue Devils are favored by 1.5. Arizona 1.5 over the Houston Cougars. Wow. Yeah.
That's a nail biter right there.
Kansas Providence. What you say?
7.5, 8.
Bro, well done. Well done. I'll give you props. 7.5. Woo. I'll take Providence right now.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah.
Fascinating.
I don't trust Kansas at all, ever.
I know, but they're a 1 seed.
What do you think Purdue St. Peter's is?
12.
Holy shit! Go to the fucking racetrack right now.
I'm pretty good at coming up with the spreads.
You just can't hit if you can hit the
I can't
bets.
tell you which side to take.
Yeah.
I'll give you the spread. Oh shit, that's funny. So yeah, Mike Dean over at Dean Dome Sports. Enjoy. We may have more bets like this.
I was gonna say you got to dive back in. You got to try to get us a plug, brother.
Yeah.
Come on.
In all honesty, Mike's a good guy. Mike's a listener. Mike calls us out sometimes on his podcast, which is fun, by the way. I don't mind it at all. Just because he's wrong doesn't mean I don't like that he does it. But in all honesty, actually, Mike does come up with some pretty good stuff. Has some pretty good angles. We do things a little different than he does. He's a little more statistics driven, numbers driven. Unless it's his team, unless it's the Eagles, unless it's the Flyers, and unless it's North Carolina. He's bananas when it comes to North Carolina. They're the best team in the country as far as he's concerned, even though they stink. So, but he gets a little emotional with those guys. But other than that, he comes up with some good stuff.
I think I like them tomorrow as well.
Who do they got?
UCLA. UCLA's second best players hurt.
Yeah, I know, but they get yeah.
Interesting.
NC has looked good. I'm not going to lie. They're pretty big and they're pretty guard talented, and
their big man I think is going to win ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Baycott, he had a really, really good year. Yeah. Their guards are a little shaky. It's kind of like Michigan's team, man. Their big men are great. Their guards are a little shaky.
He choked a little down the line from the down the stretch of the game from the free throw line, but he's a good player.
Did you see? You missed it when their player got ejected, right?
Dude, I'm sorry.
Oh, that was horrible.
You think it was a horrible call?
I think it was horrible.
I didn't. I thought he totally did it on purpose.
Oh, I think it was horrible.
That's why he looked back. He was like, that was a high elbow out of nowhere.
It's a flagrant one. Like every other rule is, you give a technical on the ball.
Well, maybe I don't understand the interpretation of the rule, how it's supposed to be handed out. But to me, that was totally on purpose. That was not an accidental elbow. I thought that was absolutely a targeted shot. I totally thought he meant to do that. I mean, that's just me. I don't know. I don't give a shit. I'm not anti-North Carolina or anything like that. I just watched what I saw.
You bet off anyway. Who gives a shit?
He totally meant to do that. And I didn't see it live. I saw it, you know, an hour later. So
yeah,
because I saw the text, he's like, "That was bullshit. They get kicked." I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then I saw it later. I'm like, "Oh my god, dude, he totally meant to fucking elbow that guy in the face. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I thought it was a little.
That was my belief. It looked to me like he meant to do that.
Okay.
Now I don't know how that. You know how to interpret that. I don't know what the rule states.
Well, I think that's the toughest call. How do you determine, outcome? Like what was his goal there?
Well, I just think when you're not being,
did he try to get an elbow in the chest? Did he try to just get position? Or
here's what I'm saying: there was no contact before the elbow. Like if you're boxing a guy out and you give him an elbow, I find that to be most of the time that's accidental.
I got you.
Okay.
And
there was that guy that he elbowed wasn't touching him yet. He just kind of threw an elbow back, and it's like, why are you even throwing an elbow back? Nobody's touching you.
Well, he was probably anticipating because he was going to crash the boards, obviously.
But you can't just throw elbows around, dude. And then when you hit someone in the chops, that's how it's going to go down. They're trying to stop that kind of shit. So I personally thought I thought he should have been ejected for that.
Well,
I don't really like the ejection part of it, but that's the rule. So
they get that guy back. That'll help them too against UCLA. Sure. So he's a big player. But interesting news coming out of New York City.
Indeed.
By the way, this mayor, man, he went about this all ass backwards.
It went from worse to bad, but
the vaccine
still
mandate. So forever, Kyrie Irving, as everyone knows, he's not anti-vaccine, but is anti-mandate. So he refused to get the vaccine.
Only the government can put me on Kyrie Irving's side. Yeah. Only the freaking government can put me on Kyrie Irving's side because I agree with him 100%.
So he was not able to play games at Brooklyn, in Manhattan, and in Toronto.
Here's how bananas this rule was.
Yep, go ahead. I know exactly where you're going to go. Go ahead. Fans
can come to the games without a mask. But the players, because the law states that employees of a company with more than 50 or 100 employees at a company with that has more than 50 or 100 employees, they have to wear masks. So in an arena that holds 20,000 people, the 20,000 people don't have to wear masks, but the employees, aka the players and coaches, they have to wear masks. Dumbest fucking rule in the history of law.
One
Okay.
step further, opposing players aren't vaccinated to come in and play.
Was there an exemption made?
Just the way the rule is.
It's just so stupid. It's not about safety. It was about power.
So
And
Kyrie
it's-
goes and gets a ticket and sits in
It
the
comes
stands
to the
for a
game. Yeah. And got fined. But
And
still,
I
I
think
love the
that's-
move.
And I think me too.
I love the move because he showed how asinine the law
Correct.
is.
Yep.
He showed how absolutely and utterly asinine the law was. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. We're doing this for your benefit. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You take 60 in New York, you take 60% of my paycheck. Don't talk to me about my benefit.
So with that being said, that is now lifted as of today, and the Yankees and the Mets, as their season just happens to be starting up in 2 weeks. How much money they make on the Yankees and Mets? Yeah, I
What
think.
a coincidence.
Aaron Judge. Jacob deGrom. They're
Yeah.
not vaccinated.
These
I have
players,
Yankee tickets. If I couldn't watch Aaron Judge and Rizzo play home games, I was giving up my tickets.
yeah.
What, do you out of your fucking mind?
Well, I was about to say these players have more power than they realize. If they would have been, let's be honest, athletes are not the smartest group out there in society. But if they would have been wise and smart and had some cojones, some testicles, they would have gotten together and said, we're not playing at all until this law goes away. And guess how long it would have taken for that law to go away?
An hour and a half.
Yeah, about 35 seconds. Yeah, that would have been done. Because as soon as the mayor of New York finds out that the New York Yankees and the New York Mets and the Brooklyn, the New York Mets and the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders are not playing their sports, the guy would have been they would have come for him with pitchforks.
Absolutely.
They would have burned the mayor's mansion down.
No doubt about it.
Like it would have been over instantaneously. Or there would have been a new mayor because the current one would have been dead. I'm not threatening anybody's life, so don't come for me, all right? I'm just speaking theoretically, of course, hypothetically and theoretically. But they didn't do that. But it was kind of coming to that, like, wow, we're going to go to Yankee games. There's not going to be any Aaron Judge. Okay, that'll sound great.
Yeah.
I'm sure you won't catch any shit for that
one.
one.
The best pitcher in baseball, he's not going to pitch in New York?
Okay.
Right.
What a coincidence. Just before the playoffs and just before baseball season starts. Shocker.
It's not a good look, I'll tell you that, but it was the right move. And listen.
It's just late. It
it's
never
way
should have
late.
been there in the first place.
And the baseball's outside.
Come on.
This whole inside-outside thing. The plexiglass. It can't get me. It can't get me.
Only bad government could get me on Kyrie Irving's side. It's amazing.
Oh, my goodness.
It brings us together. Government brings people together. Absolutely. 60 in the book. Well done, sir. Last time I'm going to say that to you for the month of March.
That is the pattern of
to say it again.
Episode 60 is well done, Scotty.
Taking that one to the bank. Sick. Oh, I feel bad just thinking about it.
I got 2 names for you, sir. Number 1, 3-time NFL champ, 3-time MVP, 4-time All-Pro, 5-time Super Bowl champ, 1950s All-Decade team, Northwestern and Browns legend Otto Graham. 2-time NFL champ, 10-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, also 1950s All-Decade team, Philadelphia Eagles, Mike Dean, and Penn Quaker legend, the Concrete Charlie, Chuck Bednarik, and they have a college trophy named after him as well.
Nice. I have 2 facts and a story to tell you. Okay.
No more shot glass stories.
If you're similar, if you're 60 years old, you're considered a sexagenarian. How about that?
All
Frisky.
Right. You're getting close.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Just look at Jesus Christ. And for you movie lovers, one of my favorite movies, especially if you love cars, one of my favorite car movies, like cool car movies, Gone in
60 seconds.
60 seconds. Nick Cage, one of my favorites. Nicolas Cage is so funny, man. He either makes really good movies or incredibly bad movies. There's no in between. He doesn't really do okay movies. They're just atrocious or awesome. And here's my story for you that comes with a lesson, of course. So girl ends up, she's doubled over in pain, ends up in an emergency room. I thought this was the same story as the shot glass, but it wasn't. It's a totally different story. You may have heard this one. So she's doubled over in pain and ends up in the emergency room, right? And they're looking at her and they're like, she's got all this, like these built up pockets in her intestine, like air pockets in her intestines. And they're telling her that you have this, like, it's like gas buildup in your intestines. Turns out that she had just started dating a new boyfriend and they were spending a lot of time together. And she was afraid to break wind. She was afraid to break wind in front of her boyfriend. So all this held back fart juice
molecules.
It was all stuck in her intestines and she ended up in the hospital.
Wow.
So listen, I get it, right?
That must have been one hell of a fart, man.
Yeah. You imagine you're like pushing on her belly and just like unloading those poor doctors, what they must have been smelling at the time. But I get it, right? Like you're dating someone and it's very early on. She's like, it's just way too early to toot in front of them, to fart in front of them. I'm not doing that. And she came out and said, like, ladies, I'm just telling you from now on, just let her rip. And let's be honest, that's not possible, right? You meet someone for the first time, and you're like, you can't do that. But
Correct.
You got to at least be smart. Have a strategy. The person leaves the room.
Yeah.
You got to drill one into the couch, like get in deep, sit down hard, pull yourself down and let her rip right into the couch. Or like, I got to go to the bathroom. You turn the water on so that there's some sound and you let one rip. You can't hold on to it because I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to hear any of our listeners end up in the emergency room.
Right into the towel rack, bro.
Yeah. So fellas, ladies, when you're going out on your dates, have a strategy in place. Not about how you're going to pay. Not about when you're going to drop that kiss on him or her, but about how you're going to let go of your gas during that time that you're together. It's important. It's important because it's all about safety. It's all about safety. You're welcome.
That's a good story.
This is what I do. True story, by the way. I don't lie. Why would I lie? I got no reason to lie.
Feels like a personal story to me. I don't know.
I get it. I totally understand, man. I totally understand. There will come a time if you're with somebody long enough where you just let her rip, right? You can just toast one and it becomes a game between the two of you. But in the beginning, there's probably no easier way. It's like farting right off the bat and telling someone like, hey, I'm a Nazi. One of those two or both, it's probably not going to work out really well for you. Right. So I would suggest staying away from both. Don't say you're a Nazi and don't fart out loud. Listen, if you can let one leak out like an SBD, those are fine too. Just make sure that she or he is not in the room. If they come back too soon and that's there, it's like, well, it wasn't. Yeah, I got no animals. Ooh. and my TV isn't scratch and sniff. So, anyway, great job, my friend. Well done.
Thank you, sir. You as well.
For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
Great. Good stuff. True story.
That's
how
fantastic.
that is.
Yeah, of course.
That is true.
That's of course, man.
You can't just like, okay, yeah.
You gotta go outside.
Now, in her case, she can absolutely go home, and the guy's probably like, you need to start ripping these things in front of me. I need to hear some of these bad boys. There's got to be some gas left in there, man. I want to hear some of this shit. That's how I would be. I'm like,
or he runs.
Let her rip, baby. Let her rip.
That's great.
Cool. All right, I'll have this ready to go tonight. All right.
Thanks, buddy boy. I'll see you later.
Dude. I'll talk to you later.
All right.